Hello, this is King's Kid coming to you with another topic. Apologize, I'm going to be looking down at my notes, but it's basically reasons why friends don't listen to you anymore. And it's not meant to be discouraging to you, but it's to kind of give you a point of view that for reasons why people may be getting a little bit more upset with you or not wanting to listen to you as much as they normally did. So hopefully it'll give you a different point of view, or at least give you some insight into what their point of view might be, and hopefully give you some ideas of how to change that relationship or the dynamic. So, reasons why friends don't listen to you anymore. Number one, you take too long to make your point. In psychology, one estimate for the average attention span is about 15 to 20 minutes, but it can also depend on a particular person. Attention span is defined as a measure for how easily distracted a person is, or longer attention spans usually make it easier for people to complete tasks and remain organized. For lecturing, usually the attention span is approximately 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of people believe, and I think it might go up to even maybe 50 minutes, but it's going to depend on the person. But even greater than that, it actually may depend on the person that's actually giving the lecture. You know, me myself, teacher, trainer, I've actually considered this greatly when teaching my own classes. And one of the things I like to do is basically make my lesson correlate to something in life, more specifically to the person themselves. And if you can do that, it usually makes it a little bit more interesting, and I can get the point across faster, or more fluid, if you will. Let's see. So understanding this, you may be taking too long to make your points in a conversation, and which can actually be hurting, causing somebody to kind of lose patience with you. The second point is you're probably the only person talking. A lecture is usually like a one-sided conversation, and it usually encompasses a classroom where someone is in trouble and with their parents or teachers or their boss. So based on this, you're implying that you're more important than the other person. You're also implying that what you have to say is more important than the other person, what the other person has to say. If you think about it, it can be kind of a little bit degrading. I know it's not meant to be degrading, but if you're more focused on your thoughts and how you feel than the other person, it can actually be degrading to the person that's actually listening to you, because you're ignoring them. If you think about it, they're loving you by taking the time to listen to you, but it kind of can get to a situation where you're actually more using them in the reverse. If they're just listening to you and you're just putting out your stuff, then that's kind of a one-sided relationship. So I would say love them back, you know what I mean? Point number three, it shows that you have little or no respect for the person's time. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 2 hours can be the time span for conversations, and most likely when people are talking that long, it's not positive. I can imagine if you were talking about a good story. Hey, this is what happened to me. I went on a trip to so and so, and I had all this fun. I saw this, I ate this, I learned this. People are more willing to actually listen to you in that particular type of situation. However, if you're just being negative, then you're really probably doing more harm to them than good. If you think about it, time is money for a lot of people, but for others, time is just time. You can't get time back. You really can't make it up. You can squeeze it into the time that you have, but that time never returns to you. For a listener, if you take their time only to complain about your life, you're not only taking their time, but you're taking opportunities from them to talk to a positive person or listen to a positive story. So if you're not really gaining anything from complaining to somebody or telling negative stories, woe is me, then you're really wasting their time to a degree, and you're also wasting your own time, because if it's not going to make anything better, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? If you're talking about all this negative stuff and you're going to talk about it the next day, okay, so did it really fix anything? Did it may have made you feel better, but you probably made your other friend not feel as good. So I would question, is it really even worth doing? You know what I'm saying? For, face value, is it worth doing? But I feel if you're not really in a better place after complaining or telling people all your troubles and stuff like that, then you're probably at a point in time in your life where you got to start listening. I mean, if you're talking and things aren't changing, then it's probably time to start listening. Another point is, if you're pouring your heart out today and you come back and explain about the same thing the next day and the next day and the next day, that's not good. It's not good for you as a person, and it's not good for the person you're complaining to. All right. Like, to go a step further, I would say if you're in this particular situation, in my point of view, you can take it if you want, I think you probably need to start learning how to deal with stress better. Another thing would be to appreciate your life experiences. It's not, how do you say, there is no guarantee that every day of your life is going to be happy. Okay? Now, it's a blessing if it is. But you got to be able to take the good things, situations, along with the bad situations, okay? That's just learning how to be healthy. It's cool to go talk to your friend, but that can't be your whole entire life. Your life cannot be that bad to where you have nothing good to talk about, okay? But it's not really love, if you're just complaining to your friends, to your romantic people, whoever you're romantic with. That's just not loving them. You might actually, for point number 4, is you might actually be depressing them. So if you're speaking negatively about your life, your career, your friends, and anything else, would it be surprising? Why are you surprised when they ask you questions while you're talking? Okay, they interrupt you while you're talking. Why would you be surprised if they don't want to talk to you or listen to you for very long? Why would you be surprised if they have an attitude with you? Why would you be surprised if they're impatient with you? Why would you be surprised if your man wants to be with you sexually but doesn't want to give you foreplay? Why would you be surprised if they don't want to talk to you about their day? So, but it can also cause your friends to be stressed. They're not stressed. Talking to you about your stress can actually stress them out. It can also keep them from sleeping at times. They might get to a point where they just don't want to talk to you no more. And also it could make the person that you're talking to feel the same way you feel. So now you just close off their door and you just put your situation, your emotion on them. So now they become another you. Okay. So number 5 is realize that they may be using all their energy to listen to you. So people work, normal probably 8 hour day, maybe. Some people may work more than that, not including their commute. Then you put on another 2 hours after you come home and tell them how bad your life is. you know, I don't have this in my career. I don't have that. I don't have friends. This person made me mad. Da 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 da. You talk for like 2 hours. You may do something for dinner, and then that person has to go home, and not only do they have to process their own stuff, they actually have to process the stuff that you talk to them about that's negative. Now, if you have something positive to say, probably won't affect. Actually, it might even make their day better. But if you're saying a lot of negative things and woe is me, you actually dumping your stuff on that person, and they can't just necessarily just throw that off real quickly. Like you've put it on to them, but now they have to take what you put on to them and put it somewhere else. But that takes them time to decompress in that situation. And once they decompress, they probably are now able to actually relax. So it could be 11:30 at night before they actually get to a point to where they can actually just be calm and cool. But that's really kind of late, for the average person at a normal working, that's normally working. And it can probably make them cranky, or, because they don't have as much sleep, or they're just dealing with the situation. Because even though it may take some people a couple hours to decompress, other people might take longer. You don't really know how somebody processes a lot of negative information from somebody, which is something you probably should ask, or consider. What happened? How do you process it when you get a whole bunch of negative information from someone? If you can process that, you can kind of get a better idea of how it affects other people or the people you talk to. But I would say, just because you have somebody there to listen to you, that doesn't mean that you should abuse that, really that blessing right there. Okay. Number 6. The reason why they might be getting upset at you is because they don't have a reward for hearing about the situation, the issues. The only reward is they hear about more problems and more issues. And so that's just not very, not something to look forward to if you have a friend that's listening, you know what I mean? You don't want to throw that on them. This is probably the most important one for men in relationships. Some reasons might want to consider is oftentimes the conversation doesn't end after it's over. It's just repeated again and again, and maybe for multiple days, if not longer. The discussion is just full of complaining about job, standing in life, and things that are not easily improved, in a short period of time. Also, if you don't give that person that's listening to you the same respect that they're giving to you by listening, then it can also make it really bad for them, because if they want you to listen to them, but you're bored or you don't have enough time, you don't have the time to listen to them, that really kind of it's an imbalance in a relationship, and that can hurt somebody as well, because they're giving you time, but you don't have time to give them to listen. So you may be disregarding their thoughts and feelings. You may be disregarding their thoughts and feelings about coming up short while they're listening to you. And so you'd be putting your thoughts, feelings, emotions above somebody else's. But at this point in a person, they could actually think being a listener is actually more of a curse than it is a blessing. Alright, so point number 7 is suggestions for becoming a better communicator, and also to make things better. This would be my suggestions to you. So ask them if they have any plans or how much time they have to listen to you. So this would be you actually considering the time they have, and making sure you don't overstay your welcome, so to speak. Time and conversations that are interrupted. So if you have somebody who, people, like we said at the beginning, people only have a certain amount of attention span. But when you take their time, if you take 30 minutes, the person's probably giving you grace. You should be really appreciative if somebody gives you 30 minutes of your time and you're just talking to them about negative stuff and they're just there listening to you patiently. That is a blessing. If it's longer than an hour, then you probably should apologize to that person for talking to them for so long, because they still have to go home and decompress that. It may take them 5 minutes, it may take them 30 minutes, it may take them an hour, it may take them 2 hours, but that's still less time that they normally had when dealing with the negative stuff. Now, if you're talking about positive stuff, probably not as detrimental. You know, more than likely it's not as detrimental. In some cases, it might actually help them. But when you're dumping negative stuff, that's just not as easy to throw off. If you're talking for longer than 2 hours, you really need to ask that person to forgive you, because that's a lot of time to be hearing a lot of negative stuff. And first of all, it's a really true friend right there, that they will spend 2 hours and listen and care for you for that amount of time. And but that's too much time to be complaining about your life and all this other stuff. Some things I would recommend that kind of help the situation would be journaling. Write down everything you feel about the situation, something I do personally. And write about the people who make you upset, write about the situation. Get in as much detail and emotion as you possibly can. Put it on paper. And then, once you're calm and you still want to talk to your friend, summarize everything that happened, what you learned from it. If you want advice from them, summarize it, but don't make it a long conversation. 30 minutes maximum is what you want to do. Another thing you can do is you can pray. God is the best listener in the world, and the entire universe. But the problem with God is a lot of times we don't listen to God. It's just like the whole premise of this video is people talking, always talking, negative, 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 negative. But we do the same thing to God that we do to our friends. And so God wants to talk to us as well. But we have to really just calm down. Yeah, you can talk, say all your stuff that you need to say. But at some point in time, you should be calm and just listen to God. It could be through the word, it could be through a message, through a minister on TV or whatever, YouTube. But you got to take time to actually listen to what God says. But in the same token, once you finish getting out your frustration, yelling, if you're in your vehicle, in your house, whatever, you still want to talk to your friend, go talk to him, give a summary, and make it beneficial. You know what I mean? And definitely make sure the person appreciates that you took the time, that they took the time to listen to you. Let's see. I will limit the stressful conversation to 15 minutes, 30 minutes tops, like I said. Otherwise, you want to make your conversation more interactive if you're going to be doing stuff. If you don't want to be helped by nobody, you might want to consider not talking to anybody, or going to talk to I would say a paid counselor, because you can't just sit there and just throw negative stuff at people and then not allow them to talk because you want to get everything out. I mean, you gotta have a two-sided conversation. At the very least, if you spend 30 minutes talking about something negative, you should spend another 30 minutes listening to the stuff they have to say. You know what I mean? Whether you agree with it or not, let them at least have some type of peace about talking to you. Let's see. But if you have anything that takes any issues that's ongoing, you might want to consider talking to a counselor, a therapist, or a pastor. You know, somebody who's basically, for lack of better words, getting paid to listen to you. Okay. Also, that's going to put a dollar amount on how much you complain. Now, if you complain to a friend, that's going to cost you. That's going to cost them emotionally, and may actually cost your friendship eventually. But if you put a cost on it, and you're going to talk to a therapist, it will give you an idea of how much you complain, because they're going to charge you for it. But you should also compare that to you talking to your friends. That's how much it's costing your friends as well when you complain to them. So, all right, when you're the only one talking, all that time, for a long period of time, make sure you try to make the conversation interactive if it's going to be a long conversation, especially if it's negative. You also want to have a positive outcome. If you can't come with a positive outcome, you probably need to start talking to a counselor or a therapist or something like that. And then have a plan of resolution. Relationships are really, really important, and you really have to value relationships. At the very least, if you have a friend and they're willing to listen to you, make it worth their while. Make it into something they say, you know what, I feel like we accomplished something. And actually go accomplish it. You know what I mean? But like I said before, I mean, some things in life are just not going to be quick. If you're working at McDonald's today, but you want to be working at a corporation tomorrow, probably not going to happen. You know what I mean? But you are making steps toward that goal if you are. Don't complain about going somewhere if you ain't moving. Okay? That is not cool. If you're going to be moving somewhere, when you in McDonald's, you need to be learning as much as you can. Cash register, making the burgers, any logistics stuff, any little thing you possibly can, you need to be learning there. And then making other plans to move on, if that's possible. Okay? If it ain't possible, find out if it is possible. If you have to adjust your dream to get to where you want to be, adjust it. But don't be just sitting somewhere. Whenever you go talk to your friend, you should have something positive to say. Hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I'm doing that. But if you're complaining, it's probably because you ain't walking. It's probably because you're not making progress about what you need to do. And if you aren't making progress, then you need to be really, really appreciative about that progress. You should count that as moving towards your goal. Just because you're making, if you're on the ground crawling on your belly, but you actually moving an inch a day, that's still progress. And you should be thankful for it. All right. Unless you're in a situation that's, where you're being abused or something like that, make sure you value your people's time, whether it be your husband, friend, whoever, wife. Value other people's time, because their time is just as valuable as yours. Negative equals negative. Limit your negative interactions with your friends. If the only reason why you talk to them is because you know they'll listen, then that's not good. Seek interactions with that particular person that don't have you complaining about something. Tell them that they helped you. Tell them you appreciate them. Take them out to lunch. Do something nice for them. Every interaction that you have should not be negative, talking and complaining. If you got, for every 4 interactions you have that's negative, you should have 1 or 2 interactions that's positive for them. Not for you, for them. Okay? Show them love just like they've been showing you love by listening. Realize that if you complain to someone, it may bless you, but it costs them. Okay? Anytime you throw negative stuff out to people, that costs them. It costs them emotionally. It could cost them financially. In some cases, if you're just not really caring about them. And you should really consider that. Also, give them a break. If you know hopefully you don't complain every day. But give them a break. You know what I'm saying? You take a break. But it's not good to be complaining all the time, for you or for them. At times you should be able to tell them good news about your progression. And then listen to them about their day. Ask them what's going on. And don't get bored about it. You need to be as actively listening to them as they were to you. Show them love. And then thank them. Thank your friends, thank your spouses, thank whoever listens to you. Give them a spa day, send them to some massage parlor or something like that, or take them out to dinner. Don't talk about nothing, just have fun. Okay? But if they're willing to help you alleviate stress, there should be times where you actually do the same for them. Okay? So that's what I had. The number 1 was the reasons why friends don't listen to you anymore is you take too long to make your point. Number 2 was you're the only one talking. Number 3 is you have very little or no respect for that person's time. Number 4, you might actually be depressing them. Number 5, you got to realize that they may be using all their energy just to listen to you. And they might not have anything left over at the end of the day, which is bad for them. And number 6, there's no reward except hearing about more problems and issues. So hopefully this is something that spoke to you. And I would like to see you caring more about the people you talk to who are actually listening to you. Because if you are able to learn to love them like they've been loving you, you'll balance out the relationship better, which is the whole thing. Because if you throw too much stuff on people, eventually they may break or they may break you. Okay? So learn to love people. Don't just think about yourself. If you have victories, little bitty victories, celebrate them. Okay? If you're just a negative person, learn how to celebrate little bitty victories. And I'm King's Kid. I hope you enjoyed, and